Hello everyone and welcome to Organic Matters, the podcast brought to you by the Irish Organic Association. You might hear some cattle bawling there in the background, but I'm on a lovely farm here and the sun is shining, and it's the farm of Gerry Deegan, and some of you will know him as a bit of a composting expert, and we are going to be talking about compost. He has an amazing machine, but first, Gerry, just give people the lay of the land. Where are we and what are you farming and how many acres are you farming here?
We're just outside Mullingar. Just before, when you say about compost expert, I am no expert when we get down to there.
We'll let the listener decide. We'll let the listener decide.
We're just outside Mullingar in Clohan. I have farms 140 acres. I've been organic since 1999. At that time I was in Darien and used to supply Glenisk. And back in 2012 now, I had a change of mind, a heart, whatever, mid-life crisis or late-life crisis, I suppose. I sold the cows and I got into forestry. Okay. So I planted over 100 acres in forestry. Wow. And I kept the best beef merit heifers, Angus heifers I had, and I crossed them back on cemental. So it's a cemental Angus beef enterprise. I have now calf to beef. Nice. So I finished them off between 17, 25, 26 months to slay any meats. So right. That's... And
you've a lovely kind of buzzy, bouncy air about you, so clearly it suited, the life change suited you.
It did, yes, yeah. I got very interested in soil after that. I was very disillusioned at the time with the way things were going, and things just weren't sitting right. And a friend of mine, a cousin of mine, actually was doing a course in soil with Elaine Ingham, and he asked me to join him in, and it was a year-long course, and that really turned my head around, that everything I had learnt in life, there's so much more. There's another side to the story. We only hear half the side, and Elaine brought us back to basics, where we started here on the ground, stones, gravel. Like, there's not a soil in the world, she would say, that's deficient in anything. The problem is the guys or gals that brings that to the plant isn't there anymore. So that's where we started. And
that could be in conventional or organic.
Exactly.
You can be organic, but you might not necessarily know what's going on under the ground. You might not understand what you're putting into it. And that's nearly more dangerous in a way, because you don't have any quick fixes if you're organic.
The first thing was I started in the modernisation scheme. Fertiliser, the first thing, get the fertility up. N, P and K. But
that's nitrogen. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just for some listeners might not be from farming background, that's okay.
And that was the three main elements that went into soil. But after a while, when we started understanding more about food and more about nutrition, there's an awful lot more than that in our food. And where's all this coming from? We're getting huge crops, and multiplying it, doubling them, tripling them, but we're not putting them nutrients back in. And as time evolved, we started seeing the surveys and how good is our carrots or our cabbage or any of our vegetables. Yeah, it's so lovely fresh, which it is, but there's more. How much is in it? How much of our vitamins, how much of our minerals, how much which we need to keep our immune system going. We're all talking about immune system now, but very little. It's all about curing, not about enhancing our immune system.
And you think all this comes back to the health of the soil?
Health of the soil.
And that's why we're standing in front of this machine that improves the compost. So if you've a load of straw bedding from your cattle, you don't believe in just leaving it in a big pile for a month and then turning it and throwing it out on the ground, which is what a lot of farmers do. I'd be guilty of it. You think that we should be turning it and creating something from it.
To compost down in the form that we want it. Okay. How good is compost? How much do we need? Do we need a ton? Do we need 10 ton to the acre? The word compost is bandied around so much. If it's compost, it has to be good.
Yeah. And farmyard manure, I mean, there's a very it's brilliant stuff, but there's even a very standard nutritive value, if you like, for it that's given. But that changes depending on if you're turning it. And
exactly. We don't know where it goes. If we put it all out there, the plant can't take it all up there and then. So how is it going to be saved there? How is it going to be kept in the ground in a safe manner? And mainly, in long story short, it comes down to the anaerobes and the bacteria and fungi that's actually in the soil.
But this machine, you had it custom made, because you were telling me just before we started, no one had a machine like this in Ireland before you got an idea in your head that you wanted something like this.
I seen it on. I won't say there was. No, I didn't see one before in Ireland anyway. There were a few commercial ones, very big ones, but I don't think there was any farming ones for ordinary farmers.
Explain what it is. You'll probably be better explaining what it is to someone who's never seen it before. But I'll take some pictures and we will put it up on our Instagram and things, at the IOA Instagram, so people can have a look at it as well. Just if people are listening now. But so explain roughly what it is to people.
It's really like a hay tether, because that's what it does. It actually aerates. We create a big mound, maybe 3 foot, 3 meters, less than 3 meters wide by 1.5 meters high. Like the old potato ridges longo, only in a bigger manner. And we take into it like a row of hay, turning a swart of hay, a swart of straw afterwards, getting the air into it. The secret is we want aerobic bacteria growing in our compost.
I just woke up to it. So, like you said, you'd have your big mound in front of it, and then you'd come forward, and it's nearly like an automatic car wash. If people could imagine that kind of thing, that it has an arm that's then kind of brought forward, and the whole thing goes over it. And then there's a rotavator on the inside that has kind of large teeth attached to it, and that would turn the compost quite quickly, would it?
It turns the compost. It brings the sides into the centre. In the compost, we get a hot ball in the centre. Okay. It heats faster in the centre.
So explain that to me. Start again when you have the compost in front of you.
In our rows. Yeah. As soon as it gets up to temperature, over 130 degrees Fahrenheit, 50, I think it's around 50 degrees Celsius, I come in and I turn it with the machine, because at that
there's
time
a PTO and it connects to a tractor.
It's the very same as a hay, like the old cock pheasant hay tether longo. Okay. It turns it up in the air and kicks it out behind. So it leaves it up like a swart of straw, a row of hay, ready for the baler. But it's fluffed up, so there's plenty of air getting in to keep your aerobic bacteria and fungi growing.
And how many times would you do that in a year? Just that one pile of compost? How many times?
This is something I'm learning all the time. Okay. In the beginning, I was told you're supposed to do it. Well, see, it's the way I interpreted things. You can turn it after 24 hours if it gets up to 160 degrees, and then it could be back up to that 160 degrees in 24, 36 hours again. You can turn again, but over time I found out you can, but you don't have to. And initially I was going in, turning, and people would say if you do that too often, you're harming the fungi growth, because you break up the fungal hyphae. So there's a fine line with it. Yeah. But you still have to do something. You know, people who come in and say you can't do this and you can't do that, and then you do nothing. But that's not the answer. You do the best of what you can. Nothing's going to be 100%, but we aim to get as close as we can to get the best out of this.
And for someone at home now, because I've these machines and I was nosy about them, and I did some research and I went to the National Ploughing Championships and I met someone who had them at a stand there, but they said they're not available under TAMs, like organic farmers get a 60% TAMs. Yeah. So hopefully, they said they're trying to get it onto the list of machinery that'll be available. But if you're at home and you don't have one of these machines, how do you turn your compost?
With your front loader then. Okay. When you're taking the manure out of the shed, aerate it as best you can with the forks, even taking it out. Yeah. Don't take it out in with a silage grab, a big, like a solid turf. Yeah. Drop it out in the yard, and it'll be there till next year. Yeah. Because there's no air getting into it. But the more you can toss it up, with every movement that you do, the better. So a thermometer is very important. Okay. Like, then you know what's going on.
Big long
thermometer, a meter thermometer, and you know what's going on then. And if you see it's getting too hot, and if it stays too hot, to say if you get to 80 degrees, combust.
And why would a farmer bother doing this? For example, if they had a soil test and they were low in a certain, we talked about NPK there earlier. Yeah. If they were low in a certain area there, what would the compost help with? What would good compost, well-turned compost, what would it help with?
See, unfortunately, we only get a chemical analysis back here
Okay.
in Ireland. I don't know whether there's a lab actually doing a biological assessment. I know there's a lot of guys coming on stream now to have studied in the courses and following on microscopic analysis, which is brilliant. So that will give you back a count of bacteria and fungi that's actually in the soil, and that it won't tell you. That's not telling you what's exactly plant available, but that doesn't matter. The most important thing is it there? Is all the nutrients that you want there?
Okay, we're coming up to the shed now. Apologies for the wind noise there, but we have some lovely cow noises now. I think they know you. They're giving you a greeting there, aren't they? So, someone's hopped out between the bars. We've got a little calf in the middle. That always happens, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is one of the tidiest sheds I have been in. So you have a large corridor. There are feeding gates on either side, and that's where the cattle are on slats. And then behind that, you have your straw.
Yeah.
Then about behind that.
Yeah.
And it looks lovely and comfortable for them.
They're happy.
You don't miss milking ever, do you?
There's a long story. I don't. I do and I don't. It was all the red tape, really.
Yeah.
We could start talking about.
We could.
Mind and pressure and anxiety and all, and what all that does with pressure of coming from the state and coming from. It's another day's work.
But stress is a killer.
It really is. And everybody's talking about it's good to talk, it's great to talk. It is great to talk, but we ain't resolving the issue that's behind it in the first place. It's still lower the banks. As soon as that person leaves, that bank loan is still in the back of your head. So it's getting to where the problem is for sorting it out. Then people will come
and
to.
Do you think the trees? Because some people have this mentality of planting trees, you're destroying your land, and what are you doing, and all that kind of thing. How have you found it?
No. So the country was covered in trees in the first place, and man cleared the trees by hand. There's that much machinery out there. That land can be turned if food was required in the morning, or if the policy was there in the morning to turn that back into agricultural land again. It would be done. No problem. There's more timber under the ground than there's over the ground with root systems. So that doesn't wash.
And what kind of trees did you plant?
I planted a mixed. I love forestry now, so I have a mixed diversity of trees. It's half hardwood and half softwoods. Almost 10 kilometres of pathway through the whole.
Wow,
through the whole
10 kilometres.
Yeah, if you take in the headlands and everything else.
That's incredible.
So.
That's something to be really proud of, though.
It's lovely. It's lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
I'd have planted, like there's ash, oak, beech, sycamore. There'd be about 60 different varieties. And along the pathways, then I'd have put in different species. Your chestnut, your sweet chestnut, your horse chestnut, your red oaks, sessile oak, walnuts,
a lot.
Spanish chestnut, or cherries, wild cherry, alder, birch, all the different birches as well. So they all bring different.
And your cows obviously here as well look very content, and they're part of your, I guess, rotation in the way that I suppose you're talking about the straw and the compost and everything. So how many cows would you have here?
I give about 9, 10 cows.
And they're all suckler cows, are they? And what do you put them in calf to?
Back on Angus, it's near the bar. I wanted a replacement.
Okay.
I go cemented, but it's Angus on cemented, or Angus back on Angus.
And how long have they been calved? Do you do autumn calving?
A bit of both, whatever.
Yeah.
I find then if it's the autumn calving, I can get them out in 17, 18 months.
Yeah.
So, and when it's born in the spring, then they'll be finished over the shed. Yeah. So 24, 25, 26 months.
And where do they go? Who do you send them to?
Slaneymeats.
Okay.
Yeah. John Brennan and HM Organics looks after things for me. No better man than John. So, and I found like that, and that since I compost and changed the farming method, and I don't like actually putting a label on it, but it will be called mob graze regenerative farming. As soon as you put a title on it, there's always somebody there to, then this is wrong or that's wrong. it's about grazing a third or a little more, and leaving the rest to be walked and fertilised on.
So do you nearly do a 24-hour rotation?
I do. I did now for the last. I started the last 3 or 4 years.
So you might leave them in half acre, an acre for 24 hours, and then move them.
Exactly.
Would that be the idea?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I've had a 30-day rotation, and when the silage came in, then I got up to a 60-day rotation.
Okay.
But they definitely have improved. The weight gain has improved. Last year I killed out bullocks over 400 kilos at 26, 27 months. I never did that in conventional, and cutting silage in the 17th of May at that time. But now I'm cutting at the end of June or beginning of July. They were getting probably 2.5 kilos a meal, and they still could do that.
And do you test silage? Or are you trying to get red clover into it? Are you doing anything like that?
And getting the results.
Yeah, okay.
And half that ground is a field that was never ploughed.
Wow, yeah.
Never ploughed in its life. So it's all the old species. It's a diverse sward. So it's bringing up whatever they need. I'm getting the results from it.
Yeah.
So I'm keeping it as simple as possible.
And what
I know
about
some people putting in multi-species water. If I'm going along the lines of say, hoping the regeneration, that all the old species would start to come back, enhancing the old thing, especially with the compost. It was the first time, last year was the first time in the 20 years that production started to increase again. Little by little it used to drop. Maybe over 4 or 5 years you could lose a cow to the air, to the whole system. But it was always going down that little bit, even though you were doing the same thing. But it turned. I had 1.5 to 2 bales an acre more than I have had in the last 20 years. And that's from either both, I'd say, the compost and the regenerative farming.
The birds are lovely in the shed as well.
But I could hear.
It's been lovely. Thank you so much. And for everyone listening, you've been listening to Organic Matters, the podcast brought to you by the Irish Organic Association. For more on organics, you can visit www.irishorganicassociation.ie. But from me, Hannah Quinn Mulligan, thank you very much, and hopefully you'll be with us again in another 2 weeks.